If you're a beginner gardener or you're limited on resources such as land or equipment, we're going to show you the easiest way to install a vegetable garden. And that, my friend, would be our lazy garden kit. And we're going to show you from start to finish how to install the fabric and the drip irrigation system. So today we're installing 2 lazy garden systems, 2 of the 15 by 30, and we're doing that back to back. So you'll be able to see how to install 2 or just 1 if that's what you desire. All right, inside of our 15 by 30 lazy garden kit, we have the ground cover here, which is 1 piece right there. We have 100 of these pins. Now these pins are used to hold down the fabric in place, but also to hold our drip irrigation in place. We have the 30-foot pre-cut mainline tubing, and we have pre-cut drip lines, and these are pre-cut in 15-foot lengths. We have our Goof plugs, and this is what we're going to use to plug the end of our drip tubing. We have transfer barbs right inside here. We'll use that to hook up our drip tubing to our mainline tubing. Also inside of here we have 1 figure-8 clamp. That's what we use to plug up the end of our mainline tubing. We have 1 hole punch. We have our 20 PSI filter regulator combo with the pressure regulator and the filter already installed. Now we're ready to put it in. While it's not always necessary to work the soil before you put down the lazy garden kit, I would recommend doing so. It helps to break down any organic matter that you've got into the soil there. It also helps loosen that soil a little bit. And we're going to preload our rows where our tomatoes are going with calcium and all of our rows with organic fertilizer. Then we're going to put down the mat, and to do that we want to work these things into the soil. All right, so we worked this soil, tilled it about a week ago. If you don't have a tiller, you can borrow one or you can rent one from a rental place in town to till up the soil there. Now once we get this system in, you no longer need a tiller. So a tiller or working the soil is going to be a short-term thing that we do before we install the lazy garden system. So we tilled this about a week ago to help start letting this organic matter break down a little bit, and we're going to till it and work it again right before we install it. All right, so what we did is we laid out the garden with these marking flags to show where our corners of our garden is going to go, but also we went ahead and laid out the rows that is in our mat here. The first row comes off 1 foot from the edge, and therefore it goes 2 foot after that. So what we're going to do is we're going to preload this soil with fertilizer, and we're going to preload 4 rows with gypsum also, because we're going to plant 4 rows of tomatoes and peppers. Okay, so what the flags does is indicates where the rows is going. So I'm putting my fertilizer exactly in the row, and we're going to till that in so that it can start working that soil, getting those microbes nice and happy. Okay, so we have incorporated our complete organic fertilizer into the soil. Now you can go synthetic, but I prefer to preload the soil to pre-plant with our complete organic. It's a pelletized chicken manure. Also, our first 3 rows, we know we're going to plant tomatoes and peppers there, so we went ahead and preloaded those rows with gypsum. And that's going to help us with our blossom interrot to make sure that fruit has got good cell walls in there. And then we putting out that good compost, that gold that makes everything grow better. We put the compost out. The next thing is we got to stir it all together, incorporate it into the soil so that it starts dissolving into the soil solution where it's going to be available to that plant. All right, now it's time for us to put the mat out. And just like that, we got the mat down. We put these staples about 4 feet apart all the way around. Now time to start on the irrigation. We're going to take the mainline tubing, stretch it out across the front, pin it down so the sun can hit it and help it stretch out straight. Well, here's your transfer barbs, and that's what we would normally punch into our mainline tubing to start our drip lines. But being as we put in 2 of these mats today, we don't have enough water to irrigate the whole thing at one time, nor do we want to. We're going to have different things on different rows, so we want to be able to water each row differently. So we're going to install these cutoff valves instead of the transfer barbs. They do the same exact thing, except they got a valve in there, you can cut them on and off. That way we can water whatever rows we want to water at one time. These are not included into your kit. These we do sell on our website separately, but these little cutoff valves make it really nice when you want to have different things that you may want to water differently or fertilize differently, or if you don't have enough water to irrigate the whole system at one time, you can split it up and water whatever rows you'd like. All right, to install the transfer barb or this transfer cutoff, process is the same on both of them. You take your hole punch, you line it up where your row's gonna go, and we got that yellow line that indicates where the row's gonna go for us. We put it there, we push and twist at the same time, punches a hole in there. We take that little barb and we twist and push, and you can hear it pop, and it's installed. Now these lines, this drip tubing line, have the emitters every 6 inches apart. You see that swelled up area right there? That's where your emitters at. So you want to make sure you never cut, if you have to cut, on that right there. These lines right here are pre-cut 15 foot, which is ideal for one lazy garden kit. Today we've got 2 back-to-backs. What we're going to do is we're going to put one 15 foot down, and then we're going to join the other one to continue on for the end of the row. So we'll have 2 15 foot of these joined at the middle. All right, to install your drip tubing on the transfer barb or these cutoff valves, the process is the same. Just take it, push it on there, wiggle, wiggle. That barb fits up on there nice and snug. All right, so this is the end of our 15 foot drip line tubing. This is where we would normally plug it off with a Goof plug right here. If we're putting in one lazy garden kit, we would use this Goof plug right here, and we would put in there to stop the end of that right there and to plug it off. Now the Goof plugs and the transfer barbs look really simpler, but they are different. The difference is the transfer barb has a hole that goes all the way through there that acts as a coupling also, where the Goof plug does not. So being as we've got these 2 systems back to back and we're using the same irrigation system for both of them, we're going to use this transfer barb as a coupling, and we're going to put it into the end of our pre-cut 15 foot line, and we're just going to wiggle, wiggle, push, push. See right there, got it on there nice. And then we're going to come back and join the next one. So that joins our 2 15 foot drip tubes and acts as a coupling, so we can extend it on out, and each line will be 30 foot long. All right, so I got my line stretched out. I want to go to the very end, and I want to put me another pin in right there. And I'm going to place it down pretty snug. What that's going to do is that's going to allow that drip tubing there to let the sunlight hit it and kind of straighten it out a little bit. Now after we let this sit a little bit and we get the rest of the system in and we get it flushed out, we'll come back down through there and put us a few more pins in there. All right, so we got all our drip tubing run. We put us a stake at the first part of it, and there at the end, then we're gonna go back and put 1 or 2 in the middle there just to hold it in place. After the sun hits this stuff I did too, it straightens out really nicely. Now it's time to install our filter regulator combo. And this nut on the end, we want to back it all the way off because we're going to slide our tubing up on there. And we got a little excess tubing right here, so I'm going to trim a little bit of this off. You can take a pocket knife and do this, or these electrical scissors work kind of nicely. So I just take it there, wiggle, wiggle, push, push, up over that barb there. When I get it on there nicely, then I screw that nut down on it, and it's secure. That's all there are to it. We'll hook our water hose up to this end and flush our system out. All right, so our filter regulator combo has a water hose washer in there. Make sure that that's installed and it does not fell out. Otherwise, it will leak. So we're just going to hook our water hose up. Now this is a swivel fitting, so it has to be tight to seal off so it won't leak. So once you get your water hose on there, make sure it's nice and snug. All right, now it's time to flush out the system. We want to put a figure 8 fitting on our mainline tubing because we're going to flush it out first. We turn the water on, get that dirt and trash out of there. Then simply just kink it over right there and slide it back in. And that's the way we cut off or stop up our mainline tubing. After we get our mainline tubing stopped off and plugged up, then we let our drip tubing flush out right there, and we come back down through here on the ends with a Goof plug with the small end there, and we're going to stick it in there, push, kind of wiggle, wiggle, At this point, you can turn the system off and go ahead and plug the rest of your drip tubing up. All right, we got it in. We got our irrigation system working. Just to give you an idea again how this thing is laid out. 1 foot off the end, then we have a row of what we call X's, and these X's are cuts in there so you can put your plants 2 foot apart. So off the end, we got 1 foot, we got a row, skips 2 foot, we got another row of X's, skips 2 foot, another row of X's, and we end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows of X's 2 foot apart, 2 foot apart. We got 2 kits together, so that's 30-foot rows. And then it switches over to slits. Slits works good for things like carrots, radishes, anything that you want to plant closer together. And we've got these slits, I believe they're 3 foot long and 2 foot apart. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows of those. So we've got a total of 15 rows here, 30 foot long. To give you an idea of how much water we're putting out here, we're putting a gallon of water out per foot per hour. So we've got 15 rows, 30 foot long, that's 450 feet of drip tubing. So we're putting out 450 gallons per hour. Now on a normal water system, you're putting out about 5 gallons per minute. At 5 gallons per minute, you would have enough water to run 10 rows at a time. But since we put these cutoff valves at the first of every row, we can water however many rows we want to at a time. But with 5 gallons per minute, you're not going to have enough to water the whole garden at one time. So what you could do is water up to 10 rows, turn the 5 rows off and water them later, or vice versa. Now this fabric right here is similar to what you see used in a lot of different landscapes here. We just had it made for a vegetable garden with the size and length of the cuts and the X's. This stuff here is permeable. The water will seep through over a period of time, move back and forth. The air will move back and forth. It is a woven fabric here. The lifespan on this right here is going to be 5 to 6 years. This irrigation system here should last 5 to 6 years easily too. Now one good thing about this system is all you got to do is pull these pins up. You can work the soil, or you could move this garden by simply pulling the pins up and moving it. And that's a great benefit, I think, to this type of garden. The color black on this right here is going to heat your soil up a little bit more than your bare soil. So your soil temperature here is going to be a little bit warmer than what your bare soil is. So that's going to give you an opportunity to start your garden maybe 2 weeks before you would regularly plant in bare dirt. Now, if it bothers you to have that exposed, you could simply cover it up with wood chips, pine straw, or any other kind of mulch after you get your garden planted, and it would hide all that. All right, here's another benefit to this system here. With our Hoss Fertilizer Injector, you can hook it up right here before your filter regulator combo, and you can inject all your nutrients, your nitrogen, your phosphorus, your potassium, all your micronutrients in the drip system to get directly to that plant. So this system right here makes gardening easy for the beginner gardener or people that have limited resources. You preload your soil with some of your nutrients, such as your complete organic. We have the fertilizer injector there to inject our nutrients after our plants get started here. We're going to keep weeds just about non-existent in there. The fabric's going to warm our soil up a little bit. It just makes gardening easy.